Okay, what are you saying, people, and welcome back to my channel. Now today I've got another weekly forex analysis for you guys. So on the screen are the 12 pairs will be analyzed today. But before we get into that, make sure you subscribe to the channel and also leave a like on the video if you're feeling generous. If you haven't already, make sure you follow me on my Instagram account. I'll leave the handle there, and also check out my Telegram channel. I post a lot of different trading setups there throughout the week. Link to that in the description below, so make sure you go check that out. But like I said, got another weekly forex analysis for you guys. So let me stop talking and let's get into the charts. First up, we've got Euro USD. Okay, so for Euro USD this week, as you can see, we had a really nice bearish leg to the downside. Price broke out this consolidation area to the downside and saw price take out those recent lows, which I did say last week. If you were to break to the downside, you do expect to see the market take out those lows and give us some new daily lows there. However, a break to the upside could have led us to 1.21, but as you can see, that wasn't the case and price broke to the downside. So price and the daily is still looking very bearish here. And it does look like on the weekly we are still looking very bearish, taking out that previous weekly resistance level, turning support. So as you can see, this area here in the market, very key level. Again, it could be a false breakout. We could see the next week just close straight back above. Then we'll probably reanalyze that and could see continuation to the upside. However, we are closing back below that level. And as you can see, very strong close there. This now will be term resistance and could give us further continuation to the downside. So bearing that in mind, from the weekly, we could see further downside potential. But if we jump to the daily, we do have a daily support which we do have to take note of, which is this area here in the market. Very big push to the upside. As you can see, started that bull rally all the way up to 1.23. So that level is definitely valid to take note of, and I do think we could see a bounce to the upside since we've had that bearish leg to the downside, that bearish impulse. Now after an impulsive leg, you do expect to see a retrace, and now I do think the retrace could come from this area here in the market. However, if we don't and we break through that, I do see the market come all the way back down to the previous weekly swing low. We just jump back to the weekly quickly. You can see pulse leg to the upside, new high, new low, new high, could come back down to that previous low. So that is the target I expect price to get to, which is around 1.16400 if you take out this level here in the market. So for next week, just monitor price action in this area. If we do hold it, might see another push to the downside to confirm that price is holding, and then could see the price take off to the opposite direction, where I do expect price to probably come back and test either this price support now term resistance or this support now term resistance, since we didn't really get a retest of that area. So it could come up to around there if we do hold that, or around this area there for next week. However, if we do break through this level, that setup will be invalid, and in that case I do expect to see Euro USD to take a dive all the way back down to 1.16400. So two targets for next week, and monitor price action in that level. Again, I wouldn't favor any move right now just because the price action isn't quite developed yet. If you were having many signs that we were holding this level, then I probably would tell you guys that I'm favoring for that move to the upside. But as you can see, we've just had this slight pullback there, not much conviction in that. So it could be next week we just open and fall to the downside, breaking through that. In that case, again, that level down there, it has a very high likelihood of being retested. However, if we don't and we hold that level, could be looking for those buying opportunities back into that level there, or into this price support now turned resistance. Next, we're going to take a look at USD JPY. Okay, so for USD JPY this week, as you can see, we had another push to the upside. Price was looking very corrective, was consolidating for the past few days there, and did break out to the upside. And I did say last week we were probably expecting to see price push to the upside past 109.500 and up to around that 110 level, so in that area. And again, if I line up this kind of previous high here in the market and just take that across, I did say this is probably the level that price wants to tap into. As you can see, Friday's candle did take us into that level, so we're testing a very strong level of resistance. As you can see, very nice bearish reaction from that same level. Be interesting to see if we do get that same reaction again. But as you can see, Friday's candle is the one that took us into that level. We don't have much information if we're going to be holding or breaking above that level. So again, monitoring price action next week for USD in this area, see if we're holding or if price looks like it's going to break above, and that could give you a nice bias for next week for USD. However, if you do go to this weekly time frame and take a look at this weekly trend line here in the market, which has been attacked for quite some time now, as you can see, we've had our first test there, second, third, and now we're having our fourth test here. So it does look like we've had a strong close above that weekly trend line, so potentially we could be having a breakout here. As you can see, very impulsive leg to the upside there for USD. So if this is a breakout, you do expect price to come to this level around here. Again, when you do see a break of the trend line, you normally expect price to come to that previous structural high in the market, or if it was a ascending trend line and a break of that, you do expect price to come to that previous structural low. So that was our previous structural high, and that's where you do expect price to now come and test if it is if it is to be a breakout. However, next week we could just see another equal bearish candle coming back down and closing back above. So I wouldn't take that as gospel yet that we're having a breakout, but if it was to be, we could see price continue a lot further. But of course, if we are having that breakout, we do need to see price take out this resistance that price is just tapped into. So again, price is very overextended. You do expect the price to retrace eventually, but again, if price wants to break through this level, I do see the next target being 11.500, this key level of resistance up there. So if we do hold this level, I do expect price to probably slowly make its way up to this level before we get some strong bearish momentum. However, don't break through that level and we hold, I do expect price to come right back down and that give us that false break of that trend line, and could see price fall back right back into this consolidation, and from then on might see a breakout to the downside as we've had a false break to the upside there. But the key thing you want to be looking for next week is just the price action this level, whether we're holding or whether we're going to break through. So monitor price action there. If it looks like we're holding, again looking for that sell bias break to the upside, I do think 11.500 is the next target for USD. And next we've got USD CAD. Okay, so for USD CAD this week, as you can see, we had another continuation to the upside. Price tapped into that 1.26 key level. So if I just draw that in on the daily, key level of support there in the market, well actually now it's acting as resistance. So if I jump to the 4H, I did say last week that we do expect to see a further continuation back to this level here, which is our prior resistance on the 4 hourly. Get above that, I do expect price to reach that 1.26 level on the daily. So as you can see, we got to that level and actually broke through it and tapped into that daily. So right now price is still holding this daily level. It's a very strong level, as you can see in the market. Really good at support, big push to the upside, consolidation, broke to the downside, now retesting as resistance. So I think we could see a fall to the downside now for USD CAD because of this level being well, very strong. So I do think if I just drop back down to the 4H, we've got this key support here in the market, and I think we could come back and retest that and give us a little bit of the range, because as you can see, when price got above this level, it held that support, and this is the support here that gave it all the momentum needed to come and hit that daily level up there. As you can see prior there, again, this same support gave it the momentum, or a lot of momentum there, to go and test that 1.26 level. So if you do hold this resistance, I do see price slowly falling to the downside and actually reaching this level here, and then might see another push to the upside, and actually at that point we have a bit of a head and shoulders there, or inverted head and shoulders. But I do see price falling to the downside for USD CAD back to this level if this level holds. However, if it doesn't hold, I do think we could see price come back to test this key daily trend line in the market here. As you can see, really nice daily trend line, keeping us in that downtrend. So break above that 1.26 level, we're probably going to hit that daily trend line. Don't do that and hold below, which it does look like we are doing from the 4 hourly price action there. As you can see, we've tested it a few times now, 1, 2, 3. So I do favor a move to the downside now for USD CAD back into that level. However, if that key level 1.26 is violated, broken through, then I do see price pushing up to go and test that daily trend line. But for now, USD CAD does look like we're going to roll over to the downside. I do think that 1.24800 level is the next stop for USD CAD. Up next is Euro GBP. Okay, so over to Euro GBP here. So for this pair, it's been moving very choppy here. I did say last week I was favoring a move to the upside. If you broke out this consolidation, to the upside. We've got a nice strong close, which we did there. As you can see, nice strong close above. Was it favoring a move into 0.87, which is around about here. Key level of resistance, I was thinking price could go and retest and give us a bit of a range. However, we failed to take out this level here in the market where we previously wicked into and had a strong push back inside that consolidation area. So for me, Euro GBP looks like it's actually favoring a move for another move to the downside. As you can see, we're actually getting these lower highs in the market. So if I just highlight this area here in the market, so that's a high there. It looks like we're getting another lower high, and price is slowly pushing to the downside. So if I connect these points, got ourselves a bit of a trend line. Again, it's not really confirmed yet. We need that third test to confirm that trend line, but it does look like we're having another push to the downside since we're getting those lower highs. And if I jump to the weekly, which is kind of the key level that I'm using for the level, the key time frame that I'm using for the level here in the market, so really key level of resistance here in the market, which is around 0.85500 and 0.83. So I do think we could fall into this range and push all the way down to 0.83 eventually if we get below this level. As you can see, big strong move from 0.83 into 0.85500, held that as resistance, fell back to the downside, back to 0.83. So that tells me that if we were to get back underneath this level and hold it, there's a good chance we could fall all the way back down to 0.83 again. And since we're having those lower highs there on the daily, it does look like price is just squeezing between this trend line and that support, and just depends which one's going to break first. If this trend line breaks first, I'm favoring that move back into that 0.87 level. However, if it doesn't break and the support breaks and it does hold, so again, not a false breakout, because there could be a situation where we get a strong close below, next kind of comes right back above. So if that doesn't happen and we get a strong close below and price actually holds that as resistance, I do see price eventually getting all the way down to 0.83, so there's support there. So that's kind of a bit long term, but for me, again, just monitor price action within this area, because it could get a little bit choppy now for Euro GBP between these two key technical tools here, the trend line and the support. So again, it could be something like this before price either breaks to the upside, big impulsive move, or big impulsive move to the downside. So just monitor price action there. Again, 0.87 is your target if we break that trend line, and 0.83 is your target if we break through that support. Okay, so up next we've got AUD USD. Okay, so for AUD USD here, as you can see on the daily chart, very strong move to the downside here, breaking outside our little bit of a daily range here in the market that we've been talking about. So key level support and resistance, but we've had a bit of a false breakout there, a bit of a false breakout there, but essentially we're kind of trapped between these two ranges here. So if we hold this now as resistance, as you can see, we've had a big push to the downside back into that support there where we had that false breakout from. So price is finding obviously support around this area in the market, but again, if we do hold this as resistance, so price fails to break through this area here in the market, I do think price can roll over to the downside and give us a bigger push to the downside and start to give us a bit of a reversal here in the market back down to 0.74. So that's where I do think price could go. However, break back into there, again, just going to interpret it as another false breakout and could see price give us another swing back to 0.78, which is that resistance of the range. But again, it does have a bit of an indication that we could fall to the downside since we've broken through this daily trend line. So first, second, third test. So it could be a case where we try and hold this as resistance, maybe wick into the trend line a little bit, then close below and then roll over to the downside. And again, really nice selling opportunities on the pullbacks into these key levels, and then ride it to the downside back down to 0.74, which is previous weekly resistance, which didn't really get a retest. So expecting it to roll over to go and test that level at around 0.74. However, break above this 0.76500 level, this key level here, and hold, I do think we're just going to see another swing to the upside and just continue with that daily range between 0.76500 and 0.78. And in that case, then we could be waiting for a breakout to the upside and just see the overall trend continue to the upside. But again, a lot of different possibilities there, but again, you need to be staying on your toes here. The market could change very quickly, but again, we're coming into that resistance now. It just depends if it holds or not. Doesn't hold, I think we're going to see a nice drop to the downside. 0.74 breaks above 0.76500, this key level here, and holds the support, then favoring a move back to 0.78. So just watch out for price action around here. Holds the resistance, you see rejection signs, look for those selling opportunities back down again. However, if we don't and we close above and we start holding, then look for those buying opportunities back into 0.78. Now let's take a look at NZD CAD. Okay, so for NZD CAD, as you can see here on the daily, we actually plummeted to the downside again this week. We had this consolidation area last week that I was saying price could either break to the upside or to the downside. But we did have this key level of support, now term resistance, that was kind of providing an extra factor saying that we could break to the downside here. So as you can see, really nice support, big push to the upside, now providing us with resistance, and could actually see us fall in the opposite direction. So it just depends which way price was going to break to the downside or to the upside. As you can see, prices took off to the downside, very strong push with that daily candle, and closed all the way down there around 0.88 actually. So price is looking very bearish. However, we're coming to a very key level of support here in the market. So I just highlight this area here around 0.87500. Key level of support, as you can see, a bit of consolidation there. Support, resistance, support, resistance, support. So now we've tapped back into that level. I do think we'll see a bit of a bullish reaction now for NZD CAD here. As you can see, we held the support and gave us all of this momentum, this big bullish rally all the way up to 0.91. So I do think if we hold this, again, not too much indication there since we've had a very bearish leg. It would be nice to see price test it again, fail to break through it, and then we could see another push back up to this level where we had that consolidation and now retest it as resistance, because as you can see, very big push to downside with that daily candle, and didn't get any retrace until we hit this support here in the market. So for next week, hold this level. I do expect to see price push to the upside back into this area and test it as resistance. Potentially could see price go a little bit further, but for now, expecting to see a big push to the upside. Again, we do have to hold that level though. As you can see in the 4 hourly, we've had a bit of a bullish reaction, not too much momentum compared to the other candles here. So it'd be nice to see we get one more push to the downside, hold it as resistance, hold it as a support, sorry, and then we can move into that resistance all the way up there. So nice range there. I think that's around again almost around 200 pips, so a nice range there if you do hold this level. Looking for those buying opportunities back into that level all the way up there. Next up, we've got GBP NZD. Okay, so for GBP NZD this week, as you can see, we took off to the upside. Price flew to the upside, breaking out this consolidation here. Again, last week I did highlight this area, could break to the upside or to the downside. Break to the downside, I was favoring it move back into this key level of support here in the market. So really key level of support. As you can see, big push to the upside, holding as resistance there. So I was favoring a move back into 1.91 if we were to break out this consolidation to the downside. Break to the upside though, again, price was just going to continue in this newfound kind of bullish corrective trend here in the market. But as you can see, price broke to the upside. Again, very bullish push there on that daily candle, and seeing us come back to these highs here. So for now, for GBP, I do expect to see a bit of retrace, but I do think we could push a little bit further. Again, if I highlight that previous kind of swing high there in the market, I do think we can go and violate that. So again, get a nice push to the upside, maybe a few wicks or close above it. But I do think we might see a bit retrace first, since we how overextend we are, and then push to the upside again, giving us a new high, taking out that level. And then next stop, I do think it's going to be 1.99, which is this resistance here, or maybe even 2.0000 for GBP/NZD. So for next week, expecting a little bit of retrace since how overextended we are. It's favoring a bit of retrace. Could be a situation where we actually come back down and retest this level over here, which is that previous consolidation. Again, a lot of momentum to the upside from that level, or accumulated there before it took off to the upside. So it could retest that area. If that's the case, again, nice place to look for buying opportunities to take that back to highs, where I do think we can go violate that 1.98 level and see some new highs. But for GBP/NZD, favoring a bit of retrace for next week, then take off back to the upside, creating some new highs past 1.98.
Next, we're going to move on to CAD JPY.
Okay, so for CAD JPY this week, we saw price fall to the downside for a couple of days, and I did say expect to see price fall to the downside for CAD JPY. But as you can see, the next 3 days after that, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, gained a bit of bullish momentum and price shot back to the upside. So that overall bullish momentum that we're seeing on the higher time frames looks like it did take control again, and price is looking bullish. So for CAD JPY, I do see another push to the upside back into that 88 level. So if I quickly jump to the weekly, you can see very strong level of resistance here in the market. So if I just highlight this area here, very strong level of resistance. As you can see, tapped into it, fell to the downside. So I do see us coming back into that same level, maybe wick above it a little bit, and then falling to the downside back to around 84,500. Key level of resistance here in the market. So you can see previous support there, resistance, 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 big fall to the downside. Got above it, didn't even retest it, just a strong close above, and then we had that breakout to the upside into 88. So I do see for us eventually retracing to the downside, back to 84,500, as long as we stay underneath that resistance, since price, after has this impulse, does eventually retrace. So I am favoring for that retrace to happen, but price is still looking bullish here on the daily. As you can see, very strong candle to the upside there on Friday. So I do think that momentum can continue to the upside for a little bit longer, back into this resistance. If it does hold, again, give us a bit of a double top, maybe some rejection. Could look for some nice selling opportunities to take that lower, back down to 84,500. However, if we don't, and we actually see price take out this level and hold as support, then we could just expect another continuation to the upside and another bullish leg for CAD JPY, giving us some new highs. Because again, very bullish market still. Can't really disregard that. The market's still very bullish here, and we could just see another continuation, and this leg here is already just to pull back over and price continue to the upside. So I have to be aware of that. But again, the key thing to do is monitor price action in this level around 88. See if price is looking like it wants to break through it or hold. Again, if it does hold, look for the selling opportunities, and then we can look for 84,500. However, if it doesn't hold and price breaks through 88 and holds the support, then we could just be looking for those buy opportunities, those continuations, and look to capture some new highs for CAD JPY, and this thing could actually take off a lot further. So going to monitor price action in that level here, hold as resistance, look to capture another leg to the downside, hold as support, could take off much further. But for next week, could see price continue to the upside first, back into that same level of resistance at 88.
Up next is GBP USD.
Okay, so for GBP USD this week, as you can see, we had a nice push to the downside, another bearish leg. Similar to Euro USD, we did break up the consolidation here in the market around 1.4, between 1.4 and 1.38, and we also did take out this trend line here in the market. So gave us a really nice strong close below the trend line, giving us that breakout. So GBP USD right now, I would say, is looking bearish here on the daily. Again, is now holding that support as resistance, so that that consolidation, the support of that consolidation is now to resistance, and if it does hold there, could see price roll over to the downside again, another move back into that 1.36 level there. However, close back above into that consolidation, I'm going to be treating that as a false breakout of the consolidation, and from then, if we do hold once we're inside, I do expect price to give us another swing back up to 1.4. So GBP USD, even though it has broken out that trend line, I'm not going to take that too much as gospel just yet, just because the consolidation thing, the consolidation box is the main thing that I will be focusing on. And if you do see a breakout to the upside past 1.4, I believe the continuation to the upside is still very much on, and we'll see price probably back at 1.42 very soon, or maybe even creating some new highs. So for GBP USD, the important thing to monitor is that key level that price is now testing, which is that support there of the consolidation, close back above. Do expect to see price continue us back up to 1.4 and just fill that range in, and just continue to range between 1.4 and 1.38. Break to the upside again, as long as it's not a false breakout, I do see price going back to 1.42 and potentially give us new highs. But again, just monitor price action at this level here. If it holds resistance, then the sells are very much on, and price has a high probability of rolling to the downside, giving us some new lows. So taking that previous low there and pushing into 1.36, close above this resistance, will turn support, and from then on, I'm favoring a move into 1.4. So just monitor price action around that 1.38 level, 1.38 level for next week. And next, we're going to see what's happening with GBP CAD. Okay, so for GBP CAD here on the daily chart, as you can see, we had another push to the downside this week. We're trading around here last week, then fell over to the downside again. Again, really strong level of support here in the market, 1.72, which we tapped in last week, and now we tapped in again this week, and we're still holding firm with that daily bullish engulfing candle. So price is stuck between this resistance here which is 1.74250 give or take, and now 1.72 level. So price kind of stuck between those two levels. I did say last week that we might see a bit of a range for GBCAD, a bit of consolidation between these two levels, and see price just fluctuate between that resistance and that support until we actually see a breakout of one of these levels. So if we were to break to the upside, I do see price taking off again and actually eventually coming back to the highs up there, but I do see price pushing to the upside a lot further. Break to the downside, I'll probably see price coming all the way back down to these lows here in the market, and just give us that overall continuation to the downside. So if I do jump to the weekly time frame, if I jump to the weekly and I zoom out, you can see price has just been rejected from a very strong level of resistance here in the market on the weekly. So resistance, 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 and again resistance, and you can see very strong moves to the downside from that same level. So if we do break through that key level of support there that we're trading on the daily, I do see a nice drop all the way back down to those lows. However, for now, I do think I see price just continue to range through these two levels here. Again, not very clear here for GBCAD. If we were to have a break of one of those levels, probably come a lot clearer. But for now, just further consolidation between those two levels, and you can simply just look to sell from 1.74250 if we do hold, and then buy again from 1.72 again if we do hold that price action there. So nice range between 1.72 and 1.74250, and just waiting for that breakout, or simply just trading the range. And up next, we're going to take a look at gold. And up next we have gold. So for gold this week, not too much happened. As you can see, price is basically just moving sideways, not very strong bodies there. Okay, so with gold, not too much happened this week. As you can see, price is kind of just moving sideways. I was favoring a move to the upside for gold back into 70.70, but as you can see, we didn't really get any movement there, so nothing really happened there for gold. Gold is essentially moving sideways. We do have a strong key level here in the 4-hourly time frame, so it's to highlight that level right now. I do think if we can get above that level and then hold as support, as you can see previously when we did hold, well, we haven't actually held a support yet, so that's the key thing. If we do finally hold this as support, then I think the move to 1770 is very likely at that point. However, it's holding as resistance right now, and price is failing to get above it. So if it does do that, hold as resistance, I do see price coming back down to 1680, which was that previous low, or potentially back down to this level here, which is kind of our swing low there on the 4-hourly chart. So looking for a move into 1700, which is this level here. If we hold this as resistance, then potentially back into 1680. However, if we don't and we actually get above this level, hold as support, and then my bias is back to the highs, back to 1770. So two different ways we can go there. Again, staying on your toes here, want to be reactive rather than predictive. Hold that level as resistance, move to the downside, that's where I'm expecting price to go, and then potentially 1680 if you see a break. Get above that level, hold as support, then that 1717 level is very much on, and go and test that daily there as resistance. Again, not too sure if we will break through it or not. We'll cross that bridge when we get to that, but right now price is looking very choppy. It looks like it's consolidating, so not too clear for gold right now, not very the clearest pair to trade. But if you were to get some clarity there next week and see price either get above it or stay below, showing us some more rejection signs, then could look for some nice opportunities to the upside or to the downside. And last but not least, we've got Bitcoin. And last we have Bitcoin. So for Bitcoin this week, we had a push to the downside. Price broke through this 4-hourly trend line there in the market, retested as resistance, and fell to the downside. Now I did say last week, if we do break through this daily trend line, I do expect to see price retest this area here now as support, and then see price take off to the upside there. So we did get that break of that trend line now as resistance, retest it as resistance, and then fall to the downside back to that 51,000 level, key level of support resistance in the market. As you can see, when we're trading in this area here, it was really nice resistance, and then I said when it breaks, we're probably going to see some new highs and price push back up to that 60,000 mark. As you can see, we broke through, nice strong close above, and we moved all the way up to 60,000. Came back now for the retest, since we didn't really retest that level before, so now that's our retest, and from then on I do think we'll push back up to 60,000, back up to the highs, and the next target will be 65,000 there. So if I draw this trend line here in the market, I do think we haven't actually taken out this trend line here, so if we take out that trend line, could give us that confirmation that price is now trending back with the uptrend, and if it does hold now as support, I do think that 65,000 is our next target. Again, first target will be the previous swing high there for Bitcoin, which is around that 61,000 mark. So I do think we can push to that if we do break through this trend line and see price move back into that 61,000 and the new highs. However, if we don't break through the trend line in the market, again, we could probably just see another swing to the downside, another lower high, since we're making those lower highs, just another lower high, another push back into that level, and just see price consolidate between that support and that trend line, and just see whichever one breaks first, breaks the trend line back up to 61,000, break through that 51,000, probably see price fall back down again, back down to these lows here in the market. So as you can see, we had this bit of consolidation here for Bitcoin. We'll probably see price fall back down into this level. But right now for Bitcoin, I'm favoring a break of the trend line, and if we do that, I do expect to see 61,000 level reached, and then again those new highs at 65,000. Okay, so that is the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed that and found that useful. If you have any questions, agree or disagree with my analysis, drop it down in the comments and I'll make sure I'll get back to you guys. But like I said, it's the end of the video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.